Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Gregory, and we are in week 8 of Accounting 616 Financial Research and Compliance. What I want to do in this lecture is focus only on the deliverables. As you know, and I have mentioned a couple of times in prior lectures, you have a very large final project that you needed to be thinking ahead. So here is how I would like you to submit the deliverable. So as normal, we have 2 discussions that are due in week 8 and the active participation throughout the week in your responses. You will have the annual report final project, the final report, and you will have the GLIME FAR quiz through glime.com. Be sure to read all other required readings that are provided. Now, this final report is in 2 parts. The first part is an Excel worksheet. And what I want you to do is use your prior worksheet. I believe that was in week 3, and add a new tab. And in that tab, you are going to calculate the current ratio, the debt equity ratios, and the inventory turnover that are located in the ratios for either the balance sheet or the income statement for your company and your competitor's company. Now, your competitor company must also have inventory and sell a product within the same industry. The second part is going to be your Word document. Now, you're going to take information from weeks 1 and weeks 3 and incorporate those items from weeks 1 and weeks 3 into this week 8 final report. Now, some of the information I want you to think about is that when you are calculating your ratios, tell us not only just what the ratio results are, but explain the significance of the results. Is your company performing better or worse than your competitor? You're going to also include a compare and contrast of GAAP, IFRS, and tax issues that both your company and your competitor face. Then you're going to read the article, A Blueprint for Digital Companies Financial Reporting, and identify from that report what drivers may apply to your company and your competitor, and where that information should be disclosed to investors. And be sure you tell me exactly where, if it's being disclosed, where it is disclosed in the notes to the financial statement. And finally, provide an investment recommendation. So you're not going to write a memo, you're going to write a report. And at the end of the report, you're going to state, do you recommend purchasing stock or investing in your company or perhaps the competitor? And whether that investment would be a good decision and your rationale. So be sure that you are using support. Now, you can go to Morningstar, you can go to Yahoo Finance, you can go to other investment houses, including Reuters or Bloomberg's, and identify what the marketing investors are telling us about your company and your competitor's company. So let's drive this down into a little bit more detail. Here is an example where in your week 3, you created your vertical analysis and horizontal analysis slide, Excel worksheets. You're going to add a new tab for ratio analysis. Now, one of the things I want you to remember is if you did not correctly calculate your vertical and horizontal analysis, you're going to have to go back and make those corrections. You simply cannot include bad numbers or bad information from prior weeks. So you're creating this new tab called Ratio Analysis. You're going to put the name of your company at the top and your name. You're going to then identify ratio 1, ratio 2, and ratio 3. Now you can use this mock-up that I have to set your own Excel worksheet up. And I've given you the first ratio. So you'll need to go to ratio analysis handouts and guidance to know how to create the formula for your debt equity ratio and your formula for your inventory turnover ratio. But in this first one, I've given it to you. You will enter your formula in this cell under formula, and it's going to be current assets divided by current liabilities, right? That's your current ratio. Then in column A, you're going to identify current assets, and you're going to put down the current assets of your company and your competitor's company. The same for current liabilities. And then within this cell, within this cell, you're going to embed the calculation. Now, remember to note that the figure provided in the SEC 10K report include the $ as your currency and whether that amount is in millions. Your current ratio will be in 2 decimal places. So remember, all your ratios are going to be most likely in 2 decimal places. You will do the same for your debt equity ratio, and you'll do the same for your inventory turnover ratio. And just remember that if I can't follow the work, if you don't label everything very clearly, I can't grade it. So be sure everything is clearly labeled and identified. Then don't forget to list your reference link, your URL reference link to the SEC 10K report for both your company and your competitor company, because I have to go back and look at those numbers. Now, part 2, the summary of your work. You're going to have a cover sheet. Always remember you're going to have your cover sheet. Here are the headers I am suggesting for you. And I'm also suggesting the length of each one of these, of the information in each of these headers. So you're going to have an introduction and background of your company and your competitor company. Your recent press release, that was from week 1. The purpose of the horizontal and vertical analysis, that was from week 3. The results of that analysis of your company only from week 3. Remember, make any corrections you need to. Then tell us the purpose of current debt to equity and inventory ratios and your industry. Why is it important to calculate those for your industry? What do they tell us? Now provide us the results of those ratios for your company and your competitor company. Now I want at least 3 paragraphs for this section. So this is going to be a larger section to complete. Now, what are the results? Don't just give me the numbers or refer me to an Excel spreadsheet. Instead, provide the results and what they mean. What does it mean for the current ratio for your company and your competitor? Is it better or worse? What might have been affecting that ratio? Now, the next part is to compare and contrast GAAP, IFRS, and tax issues within your industry. So what are the GAAP issues? What are the IFRS issues? Even if your company does not provide IFRS financial statements, what are the IFRS issues? And finally, what are the tax issues within your industry? Now, after you've read that article, tell us what the drivers of your company are and where do we disclose those requirements? And be specific as you can. Finally, you're going to provide me the investment recommendation and your rationale. A conclusion, which is a summary of the Word document, this report that you're writing for me. And finally, your references. Now, incorporate all the prior references from weeks 1 and weeks 3 into this final report that apply to those headers. In addition, you must add a minimum of 3 more references from academic sources and not your textbook. So remember, you have to go into GAAP, you have to go into IFRS, and you have to go into tax issues. So those are some more areas that you can pull references from. And be sure that all the references are cited and all the citations are referenced in APA 7th edition format. You should not have any problem with this, as I have gone through and edited and provided you extensive feedback on your APA. So if it's not correct, make sure that you put forth your best effort to make sure that they are correct. Make sure that you have your headers in and ensure you have covered all of the requirements. There's a rubric out there that you can look at. So make sure that you have covered to the best of your ability all of the requirements of the rubric. And remember to incorporate my feedback from weeks 1 and weeks 3 for improvement. Don't simply cut and paste, because I will go back and look to see if you took some of my feedback to heart. And then submit your assignment through LopesWrite. Again, if you have any questions, please post them for the good of the class. You can send me a Halo message, or you can set up a Zoom call through Calendly. Now, I will be unavailable starting the 9th of August for meetings. I can respond to email and Halo messages, but I cannot respond to a Calendly meeting after the 8th of August. So if you have any questions, please feel free to try to incorporate them into either your Halo messages or set up a Zoom call with me as soon as possible. From my heart, I want to thank you for your efforts that you've put in this class. It's not an easy class. Research is very difficult and it's very time consuming, but I hope that you found it interesting and insightful. And I do wish you the best as you continue with your educational journey here at Grand Canyon. Have a great week and go Lopes.